just like you say, I want to get my mail. You know, do you use Gmail? Do you use Outlook? What do you use for your mail?
Gmail, but I'd rather have it be like liz@lizdrifka.com.
Which is fine. But if you want to keep your Gmail account, then you just forward everything to your Gmail account from Liz, whatever, at liz.com. So it's just, you can have a million emails, but you want them all funneling into one place, because otherwise you got to go check each individual one of them, and that's a nightmare. Okay, all right, so anyway, now I'm going to go to Google Analytics now that I'm logged back in. Why? Anyway, this is all the steps that you go through that I shouldn't be going through, because it still thinks I'm my wife. Okay, whew. Finally. So you can see that this is actually tracking Verser.net up here. And I need to get back to the very beginning of this. I do not want to report. I should never, ever, ever have stopped. Maddie, I'm blaming this all on you. No, I'm just kidding. This is taking me to the place that I always go, which is the report part of it, and I want to show you the beginning part of it that is not the report part of it. Maybe it'll take me back in the admin part. There. Yeah, so it's not going to look exactly like this, but ultimately what ends up happening, let's see if I can get it under user management. No. So what ends up happening is you go through this whole process, and they are going to give you this account ID code right here, but they will also give you a small piece of code that if you are hard coding, then you actually would use that code, Bennett for you. That's the code that you would actually paste into your website. I'm going to show you what my code looks like for my tracking, because I think I've still got it on this guy right here. No, I don't. At any rate, it's a long piece of code that you copy and you insert it into your website. I can show it to you on my website right here. But the thing is that what Google Analytics will do is that it'll then, once you put this code in, and if you were doing, so Maddie, for instance, who hosts your website? Squarespace. Okay, so it's going to be in Squarespace. I'm going to show it to you really quickly in Adobe My Portfolio, but it'll be the same thing. So I'm going to go to Adobe My Portfolio. So this is just a test portfolio that I have put together here in Adobe My Portfolio. So it's just a place where I'm trying a lot of different things. It's sort of like a sandbox for me. So if you get into here, into this part, if you come over here and you click on where we can actually customize design, it's not going to be in here. That'll be for a page in just a second. Come down here to settings. Here under settings, under search optimization, no, I take it back, under analytics. In analytics right here, it says all you get is this tracking code from Google Analytics, and it just, you paste it in here and you click on apply, and that's all you need to do. And I'm sure Squarespace is the same thing. I'm going to look really quickly and say new for Squarespace. Yes, exactly.
Do we need to do it on both?
You don't. The thing is that what properties basically are is if you have multiple websites, you can track multiple websites. That's all it lets you do.
So like Instagram too?
I don't know if it lets you track Instagram on Google Analytics itself, but that would certainly be worth a try. At any rate, here on Squarespace, using Google Analytics with Squarespace, it's here in Squarespace Help. Again, it's so easy to get this stuff set up. So, and it's just going to say right here in the home menu, go to settings, click advanced, click external API keys. In the Google Analytics number, put your tracking number in this box and say OK. That's all you have to do. And then once you've got that done, you can actually then use. So again, it's the same thing right here if you're working in the portfolio space. And I'm certain that Wix has got a very similar feature to do that part. But once you actually get that part plugged in, then you can go to your analytics and it will show you everything about what's going on. So for instance, I'm going to click on a real-time report, and this is strictly an overview of me going on right now. And you can see that right now, this is a current real-time thing. I don't have anybody who's viewing my site right now, but this will track everything. It not only tracks, so I'm actually going to log into MySpace into my website using a different browser right now so that we can go back and look at it. And on my page 1 right now, if I go back into Chrome and then take a look at my analytics right now, it knows that there's, not only am I on it, but somebody else in this room just logged into it as well. It's now sitting here. It's showing me where this actually is happening. It's then giving me a real-time graph about how many people, so I can actually watch this thing spike or go back down. It gives me locations. It'll tell me traffic sources. It'll tell me what they are looking at. It'll tell me whether my audience is organic or bought. It tells you everything. And it's free. You don't pay a thing for this. So the advantage to this is this. You can see what people are really looking at on your website. You can see where they're spending time. Do they get stuck at your home page, or do they actually click beyond that? Do they stop at your second page? Do they stop at the 5th page? What's really doing, it's just giving you a true data-driven insight into your website. And you can leverage that, and you can use things like that to then populate your website with the things that are actually getting more eyeballs on them, the things that are causing people to react more to your website. What's really driving them? What are they really looking at? So if my wife's Instagram account is any indication, anything that's got some girl's booty on it is going to get a lot of traffic, because that's what all her friends do. But at any rate, I'm not suggesting anybody here go down that road, but I'm merely telling you. Does that sort of make sense, what's going on here? So Google Analytics, it's free. It couldn't be simpler to put in. You should actually just put it in. So I'm going to show you 2 other things really quickly, and then we're going to start talking about business. Let me get my computer plugged in really quick. So to Bennett, specifically to help you out, let me also get my, I work in Dreamweaver. That's where I do my coding. So I'm just going to get this started, and then I'm going to show you another thing right here.
What was the other Adobe software that people use that's defunct
There's no, it's not defunct. It's still around, and I don't know. I don't remember. Well, again, Portfolio does it, but there's another one on it that was allowed you to design websites, and yeah. So at any rate, back on our website really quickly. I just want to show you this. So if you go to our website. And go to session 8. Again, we had to flip classes, guys. That's why we're doing this today and not last week, and why Chelsea was here this week and not last week. It's all her fault. I think you should send her some really nasty shit. Just saying. I can't believe you messed our class up as bad as you did, whatever. So in system 8 is where all the resources for this SEO are. That's a mouthful. So here in session 8, there's a whole series about SEO here, guides for photographers. It's stuff specifically for photographers. However, two things that I wanted you guys to be aware of is this first one right here, metadata tag guide. If you click on this and open it up, this is where they have a whole conversation about the tags that are important and why they're important, and you'll see it's divided. It's really short. It's divided up into 3 things. So the good tags right here are the ones that you actually want. So the good tags that are in here that you do want to use is the title tag. We've already talked about that. The description tag, because you don't want yours to say Portfolio 1, Portfolio 2, Contact. You don't want it to do that, and it will. And then finally, viewpoint is a new one, and this would be something, again, that you'll want to think about doing. In most of the cases, again, I don't know how Wix deals with this, but I know that they deal with it, and Adobe deals with this well, whatever. What viewpoint is all about is that it's code that allows your screen to automatically resize itself depending on what device is looking at it. So for instance, I'm looking at, if I were to go online and have an online experience here because I'm on a computer, it shows me websites in one view with one screen size, and it'll actually fill up my screen and all that part. But if I look at that very same website on my phone, what it'll do is it will actually resize the images on my phone to fit, but then it will also go in and it'll take all the font, all the text, and type and copy in here and actually make it larger. And it knows that it needs to do that in order to give you guys a usable experience on a cell phone. Does that sort of make sense? So this is just code to actually do that. So I was just talking about what this is part about. The indifferent tags right here, again, all of these tags right here, they would consider to be non-essential. And one of them right here is keywords. Yes, it's on the indifferent list, but if you want to actually get into it, this isn't going to hurt you, but it's not going to plan on greatly helping you. And then finally, there's a series of meta tags here that they actually say you should not be using, and it would be these guys right down in here, copyright actually being one of these. Their suggestion is that your image be copyrighted. Why would you actually then copyright the page that's holding the image? So at any rate, that's what those guys are. However, the thing that's specifically been it for you that you would want to use is this guy right here, this metadata tag, the one right under it, the meta tag code generator. So if you click on this guy, and Maddie, this would actually probably help you out as well. So again, it's not going to make up the text for you, but it'll show you what it should actually look like. So I'm just going to type in mine really quickly. So the title would be Verser Engelhard, ENG. And my description would be and then keywords. Regardless, let's click on Create Meta Tags. and it'll say, okay, these are the meta tags, and they would also be what you would do with them and where you would put them. So this is the title tag right here. This is the description tag right here, and this is the keyword tag right down here. I could simply copy all of this text. I'll show it to you. I'm not going to copy the title one because I've already got one in there, but I will do description and keywords. I'm simply going to copy this, and then when I code in Dreamweaver, so this would be my opening page. So the upper half of this screen shows you what the beginning of my page looks like. This is what this is what you people see when you're actually looking at it, but this is the coding that's underneath it that sits right down here. So I'm going to click on my header for this, and this is actually where I would paste that part in. If you take a look, so anyway, I would just come up here to, I'm going to come underneath the script right here, under my title, and I'm going to put it right here. So I would simply drop down and paste that code in. And now I've got a keyword metadata in here, and I've also got a descriptor in here. And this is what so when Google does a search and my name shows up, this is what actually is written underneath it. And then finally, this right here is the code right up here. So for me, instead of putting that little bitty 10-digit code into some slot, I actually have to copy the HTML code that does the Google Analytics, and this is what it looks like. It starts here and goes down to here. That is the code, script to script. That is the code that actually sends my stuff to Google Analytics. So, and you'll get this code when you actually sign up for Google Analytics. It will give you this code, and you simply copy and paste it into your HTML, and you're good to go. You just get that little 10-digit code, and you simply, because are you on my portfolio? Yeah. Yeah, again, it gives you this code, but it also just gives you your little Google ID, your Google Analytics ID, and you just, it's like a 10, 12-digit number, and you drop that in to the space for it in Portfolio, in Adobe Portfolio, and you are automatically connected to Google Analytics. Are there questions about any of this? All righty, guys. So we're good on that part. We're good on that part. We're good on that part. Let me see where we landed for today. Ulrich, pass the candy bag.
I gotta ask you something quickly after class.
Okay. All right, so we've gotten through all of 8. Hallelujah. Okie dokie, kids. So, yeah. So how many of you had a chance to actually do that cost of living calculator? Did any of you guys do that? Say what?
I still have to figure out some of the variables.
Okay.
They're part of it.
The rest of you? A little bit? What does that mean? That's like being a little pregnant.
Hit submit and then was like, okay, I should redo it.
So wait, why did that happen?
I don't know if it's, like, I don't know how realistic it is. Like, not that the website isn't accurate, but that I'm not putting in realistic numbers.
So for instance, what like take it for instance, like what would be a number that you thought you knew but now you feel like you're unsure about?
Like health insurance.
Okay, so
My mom works in insurance and I don't know like how long I actually have to pay.
well, right now you don't have to pay for it at all.
I don't.
Well, so that's a non-issue for you right now. So no, this is not for future planning. This is for you right now. So right now that's 0.
Then sweet. Okay.
Okay?
Then I'm good.
Other things did you guys not realize or think about?
I did this 3 different ways. I did one for me right now, and I calculated
Okay.
which is way more than I was charging for an assistant. A realistic rate, but way more than I was charging.
Can you tell me what you ended up with as your realistic rate?
For the assistant, it ended up being $400 a day.
400 a day. And how many days were you planning on billing?
It was whatever the middle number was.
So the number that they have in there by default, I think, is 100 days. But as an assistant, you have a chance to work more than that. So again, that's one of the things about assisting is that there's a good chance you'll work more days as an assistant than you will as a photographer. So by its very nature. So if we doubled that and said you were working assistant as full time, then all of a sudden your rate's $200 a day. Which again, I would never suggest that you guys be. What I think probably a good, solid, established assisting rate in the city of Chicago right now should be between $300 and $400. That's where I would actually peg it. So you're a little bit on the high end, but it's not that far off. So I need you guys to do this because otherwise you have nothing to base what you really think that this is going to be on. Okay? All right, so let me get to where I need to go to right now. Okay, we've gone through this, this, and this. Okay. So this is where I pull your ass out of the sling. So this is worth paying serious attention to. So again, this is going to be about business. Business by its very nature can be somewhat dry, so I'm going to try to pepper this with as much profanity as I possibly can to keep you guys awake and engaged and laughing secretly at me the whole time. Yeah. Okay, I think I can find most of this on my resources right here, which is what I'm going to ultimately do to show you. So again, this is where you do the cost of business. This is where all the calculators are, so you can actually go into that. Yeah. All right, I'm not going to find it. Oh, there it was, right there. Okay. So we need to talk about different types of businesses, and this part is the first step in what is going to happen for you guys, and the thing that is actually critical in terms of how we think about where you go from this place moving forward. So there are different types of business entities, but the major ones that we care about are these right up here at the very top. There is sole proprietorship, there's a general partnership, an LLC, an S corporation, there's a C corporation. And all of them have different reasons to consider to be one, and all of them have reasons to not be one, possibilities right here. So I'm going to start you guys down what I think is the safest, most expedient, cheapest path that I can actually send you down. So here is the problem. Ulrich decides that he's going to actually go to the photo studio and do a set of headshots. So he finds a friend, he finds a model, they go into the studio, they shoot some pictures, whatever. A boom falls, kills this person that he's shooting pictures of. They sue him. They also sue Columbia College. What happens to you?
Probably get banned or something.
Anybody, any other thoughts about that? He's fucked. It is really bad news because the chances are he would be considered responsible for this, and that responsibility would go to court, and the judgment would go against him. And in death cases, I mean, it's really hard to put an exact figure on that. They vary pretty wildly, but it's in the millions. How long would it take you to come up with $5 million? No, wait. Let's be serious about this. You've got, how old are you? Don't mind if I ask. 24, right? And you conceivably could live to 94. Mm-hmm. We'll just keep it easy for the math. I'm thinking 104 for you because your lifestyle is, you're there. But no. 94, right? You have to make 70 years, right? Can you make $5 million in 70 years? You probably can. But what's going to happen is that you're going to be working for your family for the next 70 years. Because you're on the hook. Guess what doesn't get you off the hook? Bankruptcy. does not forgive a debt that is based on liability. The two things that you cannot get your way out of in bankruptcy when it comes to debt: student loans, sorry, and liability judgment against you. So you know what this is. Yeah, right? So all of you are in the exact same situation. So in a sole proprietorship, this is what happens. All of the liability falls on you. And this is what you guys are right now, for the most part. Unless, is anybody in here an LLC or an S Corp? Nobody, probably. So you all right now are working as photographers. And in any job that you do, if it's under your umbrella, you are considered liable for this stuff. And if something goes horribly wrong, you are screwed. You are going to work for those people forever. Say what?
I have insurance
Doesn't matter.
up to, I think it's only up to $1 million.
It wouldn't matter anyway. Again, you are being considered liable for this. So do you have like an umbrella policy? Like I mean, that's basically what they would call it.
He told me what I needed, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
So at any rate, but we're going to make this easier. We're going to make this easier. I'm going to make this easier. So a couple other things you need to think about this. Focus, guys. Is in a sole proprietorship, one of the advantages to it is that any money that you make as a corporation, you pay on your personal income tax. So you guys all file a personal income tax return. So when you're working as a photographer, all the profits that you make as a photographer are actually run through on your personal income tax return. And so that makes things relatively simple. It's not a big shift from where you are right now. When you get into the corporate game later on down here, things change dramatically. Corporations have to file their own tax returns. But there's advantages to this. So if you go to a general partnership, all you've done is you've gotten together with another sole proprietor. You still have the same liability. You haven't shifted the liability at all. If somebody is hurt in your employee, whatever, you will work for those people for the rest of your life. So what can you do to get away from that? It's the next one over. An LLC. This should be on everybody's radar right now. You should write this down, LLC, right now in big block letters. You should then take a pen out and engrave it into your arm in blood. This is your big ticket. This is the single most important thing that I can do for you in your life right now. And it works like this. This is a difficult concept to get, but this is one that you have got to get down in your mind. Is that there are things called legal entities, and they function like a person. They're not real people, but they function in that way. And an LLC is a legal entity. So if, let's say in Ulrich's case again, he created an LLC, and it was Ulrich's Photography, then what ends up happening is Ulrich works for the company he owns. The same thing happens. He's in the studio, the boom comes down, it kills somebody. They don't sue him. They sue the company he works for. He takes all the money out of his company. The company has no assets. He's not on the hook. It's his company's fault, not his fault. The company dissolves in bankruptcy, and it's the end of the story. He doesn't owe anybody a dime.
Even though it's his company?
Even though it's his company. So now this is beginning to sink in. This is why they call it a limited liability corporation, LLC. You're limiting your liability. Does this make sense? You cannot come up with a better protection strategy. So I'm not talking about tax advantages here. I'm not talking about any of those other things, whatever. I am talking about you protecting your ass. And photography is a dangerous business. And I am, right now, if you are operating as a sole proprietor, you are playing Russian roulette. Is this making sense to you guys? So, additional advantage to an LLC is that from a tax point of view, nothing changes. You still report all of your income on your personal income tax return. The only thing that you have done is registered with the state of Illinois that you are an LLC and paid them $150 one time for the whole rest of your fucking life. So I am now giving you the $150 insurance policy that covers everything, the really, really, really bad shit for the rest of your life. Does this make sense to you guys? No. No, all over the country. You just have to register in one place. You don't have to register anywhere else. You can do it anywhere. You can do an LLC in any state in the country.
What about international?
In international, then you kill somebody in Paris, you are then, that's all the laws that would apply to that are the laws in France. And it has got nothing to do with you here. So you would not be protected per se there. You might be, but you wouldn't have to be. But you are in this country. So then you get on an airplane and you get out of town before they can throw your ass in jail. And then you never go back to France. And they can't extradite you for that. Say what? Yeah. So did you guys ever know there was a photographer, Bill King? Did you guys ever hear of a photographer named Bill King? Bill King was an early photographer for Vogue. He was an American photographer, lived in New York. And he was the first person, not the first, but he became really famous for like really hyperactive kind of fashion photography. So it was a lot of people jumping in the air. There was a lot of like diamonds up in the air. All this kind of stuff. Shit was always in the air, right? He was shooting in the collections in Paris and they had a baby in the shoot. And the baby went up in the air and the baby came down and nobody caught the baby. And so, but they thought the baby was fine. They put the baby to bed and they all go out for dinner. And when they come home, the baby's dead. And Bill King didn't pack. He didn't do what? He got in a cab, went to the airport and flew home to the US. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he knew. Oh, and it was a major lawsuit, extradition, right? Hearings, all this. They tried to get him back to France or whatever. It wasn't that he necessarily was actually liable because he was never holding the baby, but it was just the whole circumstances of all this. So anyway, I don't really know how all that plays out to answer your question. But back to this, because we need to focus on this, because I'm trying to keep you people not working for somebody else for the rest of your life. Does this make sense? Okay, so I've given you all the tools to do this. So if you go on to our website, apparently it doesn't matter whether I allow or deny whatever Google is trying to do for me or to me. If you come up to our website, so again, this is in session number 9, resources. If we come down here to LLC application for Illinois. This is a version from 2017, so I wouldn't use this one, but simply go online and do a Google search for it, and you'll find the one for 2019. And you'll see up here at the top, it's literally one piece of paper. It is a filing fee of $150. You actually name your company, so whatever, be creative with that, whatever you want to call your photography. I would say that it should be determined by your brand. And again, it's just going to ask you about, the address of your place, whatever, blah, 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 the purpose. And then, okay, so it's 2 pages long, sorry. This is just the, who you guys are, all that kind of stuff. Signatures in black ink, and that is it.
What would we say the purpose is?
Photography.
Like just one word?
Why not?
If they deny it, what can you?
Oh my God. You're handing them money and 2 pieces of paper. They're not going to deny it. They're not going to read it. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to rubber stamp this thing and you're going to be an LLC. And then for the whole rest of your life, you work under this LLC protection.
Would we have to put LLC as like on our Instagram or anything? Or like
You don't have to put it anywhere. It's just whenever you're doing business, you would be doing it under the guise of this LLC. So if somebody were to write a check to you, so let's say you did some portraits for me, right? I would be writing a check to your LLC. If you were to buy a roll of seamless, it would be paid for by the LLC. Now, you own the LLC. All the assets, all the money is coming from you. It's all coming to you. All of that is the exact same. It's just instead of coming out of your personal checking account, it comes out of a checking account of an LLC.
so we have to create it.
You would have to create your own checking account. You don't have to do your own credit cards or that kind of stuff, but you would definitely want to do your own checking account because it makes your accounting at the end of the year easier.
Can we link it to
Oh, of course you can. Yeah, we do it all the time. And just transfer money back and forth? Yeah, we do it all the time. Does this make sense where we're going with on this? So again, but the thing that you need to try to remember about this is that the LLC is a legal entity. The government sees it as this real thing. I like to think of it more as a person, and that you are then working for that person, but that person is assuming all the liability, and you are not. Are we good on that one? Okay, so this is a critical one. So that'll be the first thing that I actually tell you. The second thing is, once you actually get this application done, then you click on this thing, the Illinois Business Registration Application. So if you click on this guy and open this up, this is actually free. So all you're doing now is you're registering your business with the state of Illinois. So that doesn't happen. So your LLC is coming from the state of Illinois, but you're not registered with the state of Illinois. So this thing tends to be a pain in the ass, because what this is really all about is sales tax. And here's the thing that you need to think about and understand about sales tax. So I'm going to make you guys a whole bunch of money right now. How many people in this room have bought a camera in the last 5 years? Did you pay sales tax on it? How many? No? Oh, got them from B&H before they went down? Yeah, before they went under? Okay, yeah. Okay. How many of you guys buy printing inkjet paper? Pay sales tax on it? Yep. How many of you guys have ever bought a roll of seamless? Pay sales tax on it? How many people, when you're actually doing a photo shoot and you do catering, pay sales tax on it? This just goes on and on and on. You pay a lot of sales tax, right? So here's the trick. You're going to love this, I hope. So if you register with the state of Illinois, your business, by law as a photographer, you are required to collect sales tax. However, what you collect sales tax on, and this is code that's actually literally written into the sales tax code for the state of Illinois. This only functions in the state of Illinois, so when you go to New York, it'll be a different, it's a very similar game played, but small things about it can be different. In the state of Illinois, what it says is that you as a photographer have to collect sales tax on 50% of the processing charge for a client. I'm going to tell you what that means. So back in the day when this whole thing was written, there was no digital. We all shot film, and we all had film processed. So processing for me was usually on average, I'm going to say the true cost for me was $10 a roll. So in the state of Illinois at the time, it was a 5% sales tax. So at $10 a roll, whatever, I was paying 50 cents a roll, and so I had to collect 50 cents a roll in sales tax. And I would shoot 100 rolls, so that would be 50 bucks, and I would actually have to collect that, and I would have to pay that to the state. But in return for that, I actually get a sales tax certificate, and that sales tax certificate exempts me from paying sales tax on anything related to my business. So I don't pay sales tax for film, computers, cameras, paper, seamless. There's nothing I can buy for my business that I don't pay sales tax on. Does that make sense?
This is all just because you're an LLC?
No. A registered business with the state of Illinois. I can be any kind of business, just registered with the state.
So as long as you're registered, you don't.
Filling this out entitles you. You're going to get a sales tax certificate when you do this. And then anybody you buy shit from, you say, I've got sales tax exemption here in the state of Illinois, and you show them a copy of your little sales tax guy, and you don't pay sales tax on it anymore. So wait, no, this gets better. Let me finish this part, and then I'll let you ask all the questions. I haven't processed a roll of film since 2004. I pay zero, I collect no sales tax. I don't pay any of the, because I don't collect anything, I don't give anything to the state, but I'm exempt from paying sales tax on anything related to photography in the state of Illinois. Thank you, Verser. This can be worth thousands of dollars. What was going to be your question?
So does this one matter where you register?
It does. So this only applies to the state of Illinois. If you were going to work in New York, you would actually apply for one of them in New York. But this is what you ultimately get. I'll show you a copy of mine.
Or you could move to Oregon.
Or you can move to Oregon where there is no sales tax, or I don't think there's no sales tax in Texas either, I don't think. Yeah. Oh, wait. If you think I've showed you the best of the scams, wait. If you think I've showed you the best of the tax scams, just wait. So this is a copy of my sales tax certificate. So when you register for the state of Illinois, this is what they send you back. And so it's a certificate of registration saying you're authorized in Illinois to do business. And this, so for me, I buy hard drives at Micro Center all the time. And they have a copy of this sitting on file at Micro Center, and I go up to the counter, to the register, and they say, okay, this will be $100 for this, whatever. And I say, I have sales tax exemption, and they look up my name, and it's Engelhardt Studio, and they go, okay, and I pay no sales tax. And I haven't processed a roll of film in 15 years, so yes. So, hang on, Liz first, sorry.
So if we need to buy a car for our business, does this work?
This gets a little trickier because, again, it's tricky only in the sense that proving that you're buying the car solely for the business, they demand a whole lot more proof for that. If it was true, then yes. So for instance, if your business, let's say it wasn't photography, let's say your business was deliveries, and you painted your car, you had, Liz's delivery painted all over your car, and you were tracking all the miles, and it was clearly part of a fleet of cars, whatever, then yes, this would apply to that. You would pay no sales tax on a car. But for us, that is a little more challenging. Michaela?
So two things. If we rent an Airbnb for a shoot, would that count?
What ends up counting, well, again, chances are it wouldn't be a sales tax situation anyway. Does Airbnb charge sales tax? I don't think they do. So
Buying clothes for a shoot or buying props for a shoot.
props for sure would be sales tax exempt. The problem with this is that you have got to give this to anybody you're buying props from. So that just gets to be, if you're going to go buy, $5 worth of balloons at the party store, chances are you're probably not going to want to go through all the hassle to show them your sales tax exemption to save 50 cents. However, if you were having furniture built for a set, and again, I'm trying to think of it because most people who build furniture don't charge sales tax either. If you were, if you were going to go to, let's say you were going to go to a Design Within Reach, and because you were going to do a really nice modern set, right? And you were going to buy all their furniture, you could definitely show this to them, you would give this to them, and you would be sales tax exempt for that.
So not like styling or clothes?
No, and well, again, no, the clothing thing, if you're buying clothes for that, again, if you're buying wardrobe, absolutely yes. Anything that relates to your business photographically speaking. The tricky part here, and we are going to talk about this when we start talking about real expenses here, is how aggressive should you be with your taxes, with what you're claiming, and how aggressive shouldn't you be? So we will cross and just help me remember this. Clothing is a big one though, it comes up quite a bit. But yes, anything that relates to your business, you are sales tax exempt. Does this make sense? Okay, so the last thing we're going to get to right now is going to be the most difficult one. Yes?
Really quick, so after it expires, do they just send it out?
Yeah, and it lasts for like 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. And it doesn't cost anything. So you just need to, I've moved, I don't live at this address anymore, but this is an older one. I get one, I think, it's like every 5 years. They don't do it every year. It would just, nobody wants that, but at any rate, you just get another one. Does this make sense to you guys? Is this good? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the ultimate scam. I don't want to call it scam because this is completely legal. But you say to yourself, how is it that the rich people really get richer and the poor people don't get any richer? Why is that, and how come that's so unfair? And it's just because the rich people understand the game and they know how to play it, and the poor people don't. So I'm going to show you guys how to play the ultimate corporate game when it comes to photography, because photography was built for this game. So this is going to be a little bit confusing. It involves numbers, and so I'm going to throw these out to you we're going to look at it right here, and this is how we're going to end today, because I feel like if I can get through this part, let me just take a quick look at my notes here. If we can get through this part, yeah, and that'll get us up, and we'll pick up with expenses next week, deductions and that kind of stuff next week. Okay.
First, do any of the S Corp or the C Corp, would it, forming any of those protect you overseas as well as domestically?
Certainly a corporation would. I don't know the extent to which it is, because again, in Europe, for the most part, they're going to probably honor the majority of what happens here in the U.S. because we have so many, there's so many companies here that are doing business there, that there are treaties that have been signed that say, okay, we'll respect your laws if you respect ours, that kind of stuff. Again, LLC would be, Liz, I'm not a lawyer. I would hate to answer that and be wrong. But, and I don't even know if it would be certain for an S corporation, but I'm fairly certain it would be for a C corporation. That might be a question for your dad, though. Didn't you say your dad? Oh, he's insurance, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, guys, this is going to be, again, I'm showing you here. What I'm going to show you here is there's 3 different scenarios here that I'm going to try to compare the difference between an LLC and an S corporation. And so here's the trick to this, or here's the game that we're going to try to play here in all of this. So as a sole proprietorship, I'm going to do something on the whiteboard over here. So I'm going to hit on one of our lights. Not that one. Is the light switch? Yeah, these are the lights over here, right? Okay. Okay. Now, everybody in this room has tax return, right? If you haven't lied, say no, because that means you're doing something illegal. So everybody here has gotten a W-2, right? Okay? So you filed an income tax return, and they hold money out for you, right? So I'm just going to pick a number out here, just to make it an easy number. I'm actually going to pick $10,000, which you probably would pay little to any tax on anyway, but we're just going to do this as a, for instance, as sort of an exercise, right? So let's say you make $10,000. What tax did they take out of this?
Federal or state?
State. We'll start with state. Well, let's do the federal.
I don't think you pay any federal on 10,000, but I think state is 4.5.
That's actually not true. You pay Social Security and Medicare on every penny that you actually earn. That you do pay. So we call it FICA, right? And FICA currently, right now, in our day and age, is 15.8%. Now I'm just going to round it down to 15%. That would actually be 15% of that. That would be $1,500. And this is your Social Security. It's Social Security and Medicare. That's what this is. MEDICARE and Social, SOCIAL. And that's what it is, because you make this contract with the government that as long as you work and you pay into this system, that when you turn 65, they are going to then pay for your health care insurance, and then when you retire, they're going to give you a check every single month in Social Security. That's the deal that you've made with them, but this is what happens, right? And it's just based on your salary. It's 15% of your salary. Then, we'll make this even better. We'll go ahead and do this as $100,000 just because, again, there's not going to be really any tax beyond that on $10,000. So I don't want this to be misleading, but I want to keep the numbers, I want to keep the math easy. So it would be $15,000 is what you would spend on your FICA here. But now we're in a $100,000 tax bracket. The current tax bracket for that is around 33%. But again, we're going to keep this simple, so we'll just call it 30%. So again, the tax that you would be spending on this would be $30,000. And if you add those two together, it's $45,000 in taxes, and you would take home $55,000 on a $100,000 income. Does that make sense? I know it's depressing, isn't it? Okay. So here is the difference, though. So does this make sense to everybody what's going on here, right? All right, we're going to look at a different scenario. We're going to say that Verser is a hedge fund manager, and he did a stock sale, and in the stock sale I earned $100,000. This is not salary. This is dividend. The maximum rate of a dividend, the maximum tax rate on dividends is 15%, and there is no. So in this,
When you get older though,
it holds true. Any dividend, no matter how old you are, any dividend you earn is taxed at a flat 15%. This has got nothing to do with FICA. This has got nothing to do with Social Security. There's no Social Security in this. All of that's gone.
What is it?
This is just a dividend. So I had stock. I made $100,000 in stock and I sold it, and I made $100 grand. Does that sort of make sense? So if you're comfortable with stock, you buy shares in a company. So let's say I buy shares in Apple right now, and I buy it at $100 a share, and I buy 100,000 shares of it, and it goes up $1. And then I sell it all. I make $100,000, right? That's not a salary. That is a dividend. And the max rate on a dividend is 15%, and there is no FICA. FICA is Social Security and Medicare combined. So that doesn't exist. So now what happens is my tax on this is $15,000 flat, and I take home $85,000. Would you rather take home $85,000 or the $55,000 we did when we called this salary?
So what makes us able to call it a dividend instead of a salary?
Thought you would never ask, but that is exactly the deal we're going with right here. So are you guys ready for this?
Yes.
All right. Does everybody understand what's going on here? So again, it's two different kinds of income. One is a salary and one is dividend. So the trick or the leveraging behind an S Corp is you try to get salary reclassified as dividend, and then it's taxed at a much lower rate, much lower rate. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to start here in the middle. There's three different scenarios up here. An LLC, the one that I told you about, does not take advantage of this. An LLC, again, you report it on your standard 1090, is it 10? I file many tax returns. I don't do any of them. I have an accountant who does all of it. Yeah, 10, what, no, it's not a 1090. It's 1040, 1040. Yeah, it's 1040. Yeah. Okay, so these numbers are general. This is not an exact figure, but these are very, very close. The numbers they're real, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But where's the tax rate right now? I'm doing a tax rate, think of, an income tax rate of 33%, a range of 15 to 30. These things can get more precise, but this is going to be within a couple $100. That I can assure you. They'll be that close. Does that make sense? Okay, so let me show you the scenario up here, and we'll just have this conversation about kind of what's going on in this situation. So we are going to look at the central situation here in the beginning. Oh, I take that back. Let me see what's the most effective way we can do this. Let's do it based on this, on the $100,000 income, because this is sort of where we started. So the first column over here is an LLC. And the second column over here is an S corporation. And we are going to actually look at the figures that go into this whole tax game, because there's other costs that at least we need to think about. Okay? So the standard model that we were just talking about with you guys, it's $100,000 in income. And so I'm going to say that all the salary and wages are listed as $100,000. So I've made $100 grand. It's all salary, and I've got to do a tax return as $100,000. That's what I'm going to be taxed on, right? So FICA, which is again Social Security and Medicare, makes up 15.3% of it. That's $15,300. Then when I come down here, the income tax on this, again, I'm in a 33% tax bracket here. That's $33,000 in income. Does that make sense? I'm just doing this one column right here. Are we good on this part? Okay. As I continue down here, the legal and accounting fees, I don't really have any legal accounting fees for this, whatever. I simply fill out my 1040 and I send it to the government. I just need to make sure I get it in on time. I can do my own taxes. Does that make sense? No legal and accounting costs this year, zero. The dividends, there is no income in this. This is all separate. There are no dividends income in any of this. Can we go on this part? So that's zero as well. Down here, so my net income after everything is said and done, if you subtract the FICA and the income tax from this 100 grand, you end up with $51,700. That's what I end up, that's what goes into my pocket at the end of the day. That's what I get to spend. Who does not get this column? Are we good on this? Okay, so now we do this as an S corporation. I've been an S corporation since 1987. I've been playing this game now for, how many years is that? 87, 97, 2007, 17, 32 years. I've been playing this for 32 years and it's worked out really well for me. And this is how the game goes. It's the same $100,000. It comes into Engelhard Studio Corporation, which is a S corporation. It's registered with the state as an S corporation. This is a whole different ballgame than an LLC. An S corporation has to file its own income tax returns, so it is an entity as well. I get the same protection that I get from an LLC, but I get tax advantages because what's happening now is because of the structure, the legal structure of an LLC, I still work for the company, but the truth is I am the major shareholder of the company. I own all of the stock of this company. So what I do is all this money that is coming into the corporation, I have to take a salary out of it. Again, I work for the corporation, and so it pays me a salary. But then whatever is left over is treated as dividend income, and it comes to me as a dividend, not as salary. So the hook in this is that we pay ourselves the least amount of money that we can possibly get away with for salary because we don't want to pay the tax on it. I don't want to pay the FICA on it, and I don't want to pay the 33% on it. So this is what happens. It's the same $100,000. However, now I'm actually only paying myself $6,000 in salary. That's $500 a month. Do you guys work for that little? Yeah, I do. Been doing it for my entire career. Well, since '87 anyway. However, then the FICA, there is FICA that's due on this. There is tax that's due on this that pays for Medicare and Social Security. However, it's still that same 15.3%. So it's $918 as opposed to $15,300. Does that make sense? Simply because I said this is what I'm paying myself is $6 grand, not that 100 grand. Yes?
But then when you are 65 and you start getting those checks cut to you, are they significantly lower because of that?
Absolutely they are. Do you even think Social Security is going to exist when you're 65? If you think it is, you give me some of what you are eating.
No, I can't.
I want to get all fucked up. Sorry.
Another question.
Yes.
Let's say you're applying for a mortgage
Yes.
and you only make $6,000 a year. How do you buy a house?
And this thing, no, it's just come up. This has blown up in my face repeatedly. I was trying to rent an apartment in New York. And at that time in my career, I was pulling down almost $1 million a year. And I was showing $6,000 in salary, and they just laughed. And then I showed them my income tax return, which is what you have to do. And on your income tax return, you start showing them $900,000 in dividend income, and they go, okay, we'll rent to you.
So there's a way around.
Yeah, again, it's just a different, it's an income by a different name. Are we good on this? Okay, this continues, because it's not all sugary. So in this case, I've still got $6,000, so I do have to pay some tax on it. But that puts me in a 15% tax bracket, not a 33% tax bracket. In this day and age, it's probably 10% because of what Trump did to the tax returns, but academic. So now instead of $33,000 in income tax, I'm paying $900 in income tax. But it doesn't end there. This is not all honey and roses, but it doesn't end there. So anyway, However, in this case, I do have significant legal and accounting costs, and it is about $8,000 a year. So I have to register with not only the state of Illinois, I have to file minutes of meetings with the state of Illinois. I have to file, it's a whole cornucopia of paperwork. In addition to that, my corporation also has to file income tax returns. I have to file them for myself, but my corporation does it for itself as well. And so a rough ballpark figure for that is about $7,000 or $8,000 a year I spend to have this legal S corporation. Does that make sense to you guys? So that's an expense that does not exist for an LLC, and it's a significant expense. However, when I add all of this up, when I add the FICA that I'm paying on my salary, the tax, the income tax that I'm paying on my salary, and the expenses here, what it ends up being is that it leaves over this amount of money right here. This is now what's left, is this $84,000. So $84,182. I take that money out of my company every single year. I return my company to zero every single year, and I take it all out as a dividend. And that dividend is 15% max. I don't pay any FICA, no Social Security, and I'm not paying in a 33% tax bracket. I am in a 15% tax bracket. So the tax on my dividend right here is 15% maximum right here, and it means that I still pay income tax, $12,627. However, at the end of the day, I end up earning $67,737 as opposed to $51,700, which is a net of $16,000 more for me because I'm an S corporation. Does this part make sense to you guys? And the more money you make, the more money, the wilder this gets, because the salary never changes. If I made $1 million here, this thing would be radically different here. I would be making so much more money because I wouldn't be paying tax on it or paying FICA on it. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so there's another scenario to this, and it's this one down here, the $30,000. And we go through the exact same exercise down here. So I'm making $30,000 as an LLC. It's all declared as salary and wages. I'm paying for my $5,000. My income tax at 15% is $4,500. So in the end, if I subtract my taxes from my income, I end up with $20,920. Make sense? We good on this part? However, now I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did for my $100,000 group. I ended up with this still, $6,000 of this is salary. That thing is blinding me. $6,000 is salary. Again, it's the same FICA that I'm paying. I mean, not FICA. It's the same FICA that I'm paying for this. It's now my income. 15% of $6,000 is $900. However, my legal and accounting fees, that's still $8,000. And in this case, I end up with $14,000 income left, of which I have to pay $12,127. When you add up all of this, specifically because of this legal and accounting expense, I only make $8,227. The difference in these scenarios is that being an S corporation, I would lose $12,000 that I wouldn't lose as an LLC. So what you realize is that in doing this, you have to reach a certain amount of money for this, I don't want to call it scam, because it's legal. Everybody does this. I'm just telling you, for this thing to pay off, you need to reach a certain level of income for it to pay off. Otherwise, you're going to lose money. If you don't reach that threshold, being an S corporation is actually a disadvantage, not an advantage. Liz, you had a question? Oh, Maddie, you had a question.
I was going to ask, what is like the threshold then?
So the one in the middle is the break-even point. So again, and this is very close. Typically, we would always quote it as $70,000. That's what you need to make. Okay, it's just, but again, because I was in a spreadsheet, I could work it out. So same thing here, spreadsheet in this, again, $68,000 in the LLC. All of it is salary. This is what I'm paying in FICA. This is what I'm paying in income tax. I don't have accounting fees, no dividends, no tax on that dividend. 40 grand is what I take home. In this case over here, again, I still do the $6,000 trick. I'm only paying this much in FICA, only this much in income tax. I still have my accounting fees. This is what my dividend income is right here. I have to pay $7,800 in that, and I end up with the exact same amount. So in this scenario right here, it's $68,235. It doesn't matter what I am. If I make $1 more, it's better than to be a S corporation. If I make $1 less, it's better to be an LLC.
Is it similar for C Corp?
So C Corp is a completely different beast altogether, and something that you probably would never consider getting into unless they force you to do it. Because the C Corp, in this case right here, the other advantage that I've got to here is my corporation never pays tax. All the money comes to me as dividend. So every year, my company has no money. So it has no income, so it never pays tax. If you go to a C Corp, tax rate on C Corp right now is 20%, then whatever's left comes to you, you pay tax on that again. So again, not everybody tries to avoid it. If you're General Motors, you can't avoid it. You have to be a C Corp because of your scale. When I was doing a lot of work when I first moved to New York, anyway. So my charge to you, the thing that you guys should be thinking about in this time in your scale right now is becoming an LLC and registering your business with the state of Illinois. Because for those of you who, well, Kelsey, you're graduating, or not graduating, but there's a good chance you're out on your own starting in December or January. I didn't mean to freak you out. I'm so sorry. No, but I'm just saying, for you, at that point, you are no longer a student. You are an active photographer, business person, whatever, and you need this. For the rest of you, you got a 4-month window before you need this. Just saying.
5 weeks. Let's go.
So wait, you're graduating. I was going to say, so you're done. No, I was going to say about half of this class is done at the end of the semester. So, but I need to know, does this make sense to all of you guys? Because guys, this is serious money. And it's completely legal. This is what Donald Trump does. Yeah, Trump is not a C Corp. He's an S Corp.
Isn't that part of the reason he moved from New York to?
Oh, God.
Well,
Yeah.
what of all?
The thing is that if his tax returns are ever released, it's just going to turn out that he's a liar and he's been losing money forever. But anyway, yeah. At any rate, any questions? Are we good on this part? Okay, I need you to do your cost of living calculator before we get together next week. And let me just look really quick and see what else we got going here, guys.
Is there a template for that online?
Everything of this is online. So look especially under, let me find which session to be doing it under. No, so start in resources for session 9. That's where you want to start. Okay, so this is this week right here. So here in resources 9, I'm going to show this to you really quickly. So there's some other things that you should look at here. Melissa Hennessy is going to come here in, I don't know if it's this week or next week. We're going to actually talk about some of these other issues in here in terms of being independent contractors, work for hire. There's some interesting things about here about how to break into the business, specifically fashion, but there's also things down here about just starting businesses. This is where the cost of business calculators are. This is the thing that I want you guys to actually look at. This is, again, the thing that I just showed you, the LLC versus S Corp is this thing right here. The application for LLC for Illinois is right here. here. Again, this is a 2017 version. I would update that. This is the registration for application for business in Illinois. This is a copy of my tax certificate, just so that you can refer to that. And we haven't talked about expenses or income categories yet, but we've gotten through a good share of what's happening here. And then let me go back really quickly, just to see. So for assignments for next week that are due for next week, again, I'm going to post it. And I'll send you guys an announcement about it. But I want you to submit a link to your Instagram account so that we can actually review that part. But we'll again, I'll post that and show you where to do that. Again, the calculating your cost of doing business, I'm going to ask you to do that part certainly for next week. And then next week we are going to get into pricing, usages, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it starts to get even more intense next week in terms of talking about the money. Also, not that it's going to be due for next week, but for the following week after that, Rebecca Ruin from the Career Center is also going to be coming in here. And I want to actually take this week. So this will be the 18th of November. I want to take that week and look at any updates. So I would need you to bring in your little bitty prints again for your website. So any new work that you're doing, but if there's anything you've added to that, if you haven't done anything, bring in the last edit that we had, the stuff that you shot pictures of, that kind of stuff. We need to revisit all of this stuff because we're quickly getting to the point where you guys need to start printing. Are we good on this part? Are there questions about any of this? All right. It's my job to make you all gazillionaires.
Is it the 18th or the 25th?
The 18th. I know, but this is not it. This is the assignment right here, due on the 18th.
Gotcha. So for next week, it's just assignment 9.1, which is...
Yep, the calculating cost of your doing business. Let me see if there was anything else.
What
No.
about we don't have to do the 8.2 and...
Well, you should have done all this already. This was due today, so just lie to me and tell me you did it. But if you want your website analyzed, you should be actually signed up for this.
I'm already signed up for it. That's why.
Then you don't need to worry about it.
Cool.
It doesn't have a point value for it anyway.
That's what I was...
Okay, are there any questions about anything we've gone through today? I know it's been a lot. Anything about the SEO? Anything about any of those things? Are we good on that? So if you do run into specific questions, whatever, just let me know. And Liz, I will plan on seeing you at the studio at 1.
Yep.
And
Can I come in, are you gonna be busy later in the class? Because I was gonna be working on the white suite at like 5:30, so would it be okay if I came in later? But if
oh yeah, no. We really literally, we're not gonna need more than 20, 30 minutes on that tops. I mean, 15 probably.
towards the end of your class.
Come in towards the end, but again, I'll probably be out of there at this time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so just,
Like,
oh, if you're there by 4, we'll have plenty of time.
Do you have any availability tomorrow morning?
I don't, but no, can you do 9?
Yeah.
I'll come in early.